definitely need to talk to him, so here goes. Hey, can you hear me?
I definitely don't know if that's the way to go about it.
Hi, I'm Sean.
I'm Adam.
And this is SasqWatch.
Today we're going to be talking about the 2008 film, Yeti, Curse of the Snow Demon.
That's rich. That might be the worst idea in the history of the universe. Shut up!
I am happy to be back into the more recent films. I think we've had a lot of older films we've been covering lately. We're back to the bread and butter horror movies, no family elements to be found here. So yeah, did you know anything about this movie going into it?
I knew there'd be a Yeti.
I had seen this movie before. It's played on the Sci-Fi Channel many times, and it is part of the Man-Eater series. If you are familiar with the Man-Eater series, it is a string of nature run amok horror films that largely played on the Sci-Fi Channel. At first glance, it would seem like the Man-Eater series is right up my alley. You would think that I would love these movies, but
Sounds like that makes sense.
No, I'd say I have a specific part of my shelf that's killer animal movies, and there are none of the Man-Eater series has found its way on there.
What is it exactly we're doing here, Professor? We're going into the uncharted territory. I won't tolerate mutiny on my crew. You're getting an idea in your head. You shouldn't.
The guy's insane.
Wait, how many movies did you say?
There's like 25-ish. I think there might be more.
In less than 10 years?
Yeah, they're like a Canadian company, and I think one of the reasons they kind of petered out is they had a lot of strange distribution deals. I think it was originally they would air on Sci-Fi and then get released, and then that spiraled into these other stranger deals. And the reason I mention all that is that I've found that the Man-Eater series are particularly annoying to get your hands on, because it seems like every time I try to watch a specific movie there, I go to find it and it's either not available or it's part of a 3 or 6 pack of movies, and I never want any of the other ones. So it's just the bane of my existence every time I'm let me go back and try this one again. And it's it's going to cost you an arm and a leg, and you're going to have to take Into the Spider's Web too. And I'm man, I know I don't like that one.
In the jungle, nobody expects danger to be so small.
So yeah, I would say if you're interested in the Man-Eater series, I like the movie Man-Eater with Gary Busey. I think that's probably my favorite of them. I haven't seen all of them, but I kind of it's a rough start. The first one they did was Grizzly Rage. And looking at that cover, you would think Sean would like this movie.
Yo, G.
Who's my boy?
Don't watch Grizzly Rage. I'm just going to tell you, it's not as bad as Grizzly Park. That's about as high as praise as I'll give that movie. And then Into the Spider's Web was another early one, which has Lance Henriksen again. And I don't remember much, but I remember that there's not very many spiders in it. There's not very many spiders in it. And Blood Monkey, that's the one where I was this movie, I hate Blood Monkey. I hated Blood Monkey. If you hate someone, if you're just I want that person to suffer, you get them Blood Monkey for Christmas, and you'll know if they watched it because they'll punch you.
I have uncovered a new species of primate, a completely separate branch of evolution.
They had a movie called Croc. You'd think Killer Crocodile, Sean will like it. It's really boring, does not eat enough people. Michael Madsen is asleep in that movie.
Sorry, Hawkins. Clark Hawkins.
Evelyn Nemwall, and this is Jack.
Jack?
Jack Quaid.
Jack, you might want to get out of the water. He's got a nasty habit of circling back around. Cape Buffalo do the same thing.
My second to last note includes this movie sucks.
Oh, come on now.
That was right at the end of the movie.
That's not fair. It doesn't suck. But okay, let's get into the movie now. So we start in the year 1972. And we're in the Himalayan mountains. We're 19,000 feet up, although there's still trees everywhere. So again, I'm like, did someone do their homework? Did someone take a minute to see maybe what the Himalayan mountains look like? No, they didn't.
I'm sure there are parts of the Himalayan mountains that have trees.
Not at 19,000 feet. Not at 19,000 feet, there are not.
Raksha? Raksha means demon.
We start with what I assume is a group looking for the Yeti. It's really weird because we just see these three dudes kind of marching through the snow. They find a cave. One of them doesn't even go into the cave. The other two go into the cave. You see the Yeti right away. That was nice. Definitely killed that one guy. The other guy ran away, and
we get just enough information to know that like the guy who gets killed is a guy named Captain Washburn or something like that.
I think it was Jackson.
No, Jackson's the guy who runs away.
Oh.
Probably also gets killed.
Jackson! There's a foot on the ground that is probably meant to be the part of a corpse, but I swear I looked at that foot. I want Pat to zoom in on there because I swear you can see the like metal tip of the end of that foot. So I'm like, is it supposed to be a person foot, or is this just like some piece of like some fake leg? Like it doesn't look like a very real foot. 3 minutes into the movie, those people are gone, and then bam, 747 Boeing airplane going through the sky. So we kind of meet the team. You know, what was your take on the team?
I thought it was weird. I thought they did a weird job of introducing all the people on this team and like what their connection to the team is.
Almost done? Ew.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of them die right away because we got a football team here. I think it's like a college football team.
The Grizzlies.
And they're like flying somewhere for a game.
They're flying to Japan. Now I know it doesn't matter. I know it doesn't matter, but I just want to put a little pin in there and just be like, they're a U.S. team flying to Japan, going over the Himalayan mountains. Explain that to me. Explain to me how you get from anywhere USA to Japan via the Himalayan mountains.
Hey, does that seem right to you?
They're like a football team, right?
Yeah.
A soccer team, right? Why are they going to Japan?
They have to be a football team. I'm going to say that because the coach in the movie
is a football player.
Is a football player for the Vikings, and
but
his name was Paul Mariano.
Yeah, Marinaro. I think it looked like Marinara, but it's not quite.
Yeah, it's okay if we mispronounce it because the movie, I'm looking at it on the back of the box, they actually do misspell his name in the credits.
Oh, they do?
So however badly we pronounce it, they did a worse job.
Do you know that they misspelled it?
Because I'm looking at it and they have Paul Marino. It's definitely not just Paul Marino.
No, it's Mariano.
It's Mariano. So yeah.
Oh, sorry. That's a film director.
If you watch the film and don't know football, you would never have guessed that this person was anything special. He's just some dude in a shirt with a little vest with a vest with no sleeves.
You're a good football player, but there's no way in hell that I can start you.
But why is that exactly?
Because everyone would think that I gave in because your father paid for the new football field. I don't want that to happen. I know you don't want that to happen.
So you get like a couple minutes of like meet the team. You get our two main characters kind of blandly flirting in a way that we weren't sure
if they were already together or not.
Come on now. We've got nothing nice to say.
All right.
Where you going? Come on, cut me some slack.
I'm sorry, I stopped reading when it said the best thing to come out of Virginia since George Washington.
Washington? What's you got on me?
It wasn't even clear if they knew each other very well. But, like, it could be anywhere from, like, they just met yesterday to, like, they've been together for a while. Like,
yeah.
It could be either one.
Sarah and Peyton. Yeah. It took forever for us to figure out what Peyton's name was.
Yes, his name is Peyton Elway, by the way.
I just want to pause the plot for a second to say, like, it's so hard watching movies like this when they don't say the person's name early on in the script, because what are we supposed to do? We're stuck with like, what color shirt are they wearing?
Chubs. Hey, Chubs.
I've got so many characters listed here because I kept rewriting people once I found out what their actual name was.
It didn't help that like 30 minutes in, all the characters then put on identical jackets for the Grizzlies. So we're just like, oh no.
Yeah, I had to know, like, not the matching hoodies.
not the matching hoodies.
Because, yeah, before that, I had, like, blonde guy and dreads and red shirt and, like, pink shirt and like, all of those. And then, like, red shirt went and put a blue shirt over top of his red shirt, and then I'm calling him red shirt, blue shirt, one shirt, two shirt. But then he puts a brown jacket on after that. So I'm like,
yeah, if you're writing one of these movies, please, like, especially when on the plane somebody says like, well, if the plane crashed, what would you eat? And it's like, all right, if you can write that line in your movie where the plane's about to crash or there's going to be talk of what to eat, like, come on.
Any luck finding anything we can use to make fire?
Spoiler, the plane crashes, most of the people die, and then the movie is kind of basically being the movie Alive plus Yetis. And then, all right, so the movie Alive is a really good movie from 1993 based on the true story of a soccer team that crashed in the Andes Mountains.
Why would you keep it as a soccer team? I think going to another country to play the sport.
Because you have to change it enough, because it's like, I think there's some degree of how okay is it to take this real tragedy and make it into a Sci-Fi Channel killer Yeti movie.
Could have been a tennis team or a golf team.
I would have loved the golf team.
How many American football teams are in Japan? Specifically at the collegiate level.
The world's a melting pot now. I mean, I'm more bothered by their route to Japan than I am the fact that they're going to Japan. And then once
look it up. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm gonna look it up before we watch this episode.
I don't want to know. I don't want to veer too far off into the sports minutia, because like I'm not sure what anyone's position on the team is. I guess we're assuming all the women are cheerleaders.
It's not just that couple, but it's like other people on the plane also seem to not really know each other.
Yeah.
I'm just like, have you guys ever played together before? Like, well, I thought you were a college team. Who are these other people on the plane, and why do they not know you? And why are they also like college age looking people?
Eric! No, Eric!
My greater point, though, is that there's a really good movie called Alive from 1993 that you should check out. If you like the idea of a movie about a plane crash and people trying to figure out how to survive that, that's an excellent film. And I think that a lot of the issues we're going to get into with this movie stem from their attempts to kind of play Alive. And I'm going to say now, it didn't bother me that they took this true story and made it into this like silly fun thing. I think it hurt the movie, though, when you look at something like Alive versus this, because they don't have the heft to sell the like harrowing survival elements. That stuff, none of that is good at all.
None of it plays.
None of it plays.
Look, we may be here a while, which means we have to turn that fuselage to some kind of sustainable base camp. We're gonna have to clear out all the bodies and lay them out in the snow.
Oh, I'm gonna be sick.
Look, we also have to go through everyone's luggage. See if there's anything useful. Okay, jackets, blankets, food, matches, lighters, anything.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, starting a fire is going to be a priority. Go through everyone's pockets.
Okay.
The entire film, we're supposed to believe they're out here for days.
Well, they should be out there for longer than days if they're going to talk about eating the dead.
Right.
That's the thing. They're just like, oh, we've got 3 energy bars. And it's like, first of all, if you're flying from US to Japan, there's more stuff on the plane than energy bars. You're going to find some peanuts on there somewhere. But let's say all the food...
If you're doing an international flight, you pretty much always get fed. So, like, there should be other food on there, too.
Let's say that the food was all destroyed. There's still trees. They even catch a rabbit at one point, but like the one dude, Raven, he wants to eat people so fast.
Do I really have to be the one to say what everybody else is already thinking? There is a food source here, whether we want to acknowledge it or not.
Absolutely not. That is not an option.
It could be a week, it could be 2 weeks. We have no clue because they don't like give us a clear picture. And looking at the characters day from day, they look the same. They don't look colder. They don't look hungrier. They don't look more hurt. They don't look more tired. They look like they just came out of makeup.
Yeah, they do. They do. And you can't help, again, because I like movies, I look at this and I'm like, hey, it's Alive plus Yetis. And the Yetis, we'll get into that in a second. But if you watch any scene from Alive and compare it to like their version in this, like the scene where they debate the eating of the dead in Alive, it's such a sad, sad scene. And when you see the faces on people when they're sitting down and some of them are eating and some of them don't, versus this, where Raven's just like pouting and he's like, I'm gonna go eat him right now. I'm gonna march over there and go eat some of that guy. And you're like,
just like, that's my brother. He's like, everybody's somebody's brother or sister, to which I immediately said, that's not true. It's just not true.
No, that's my brother.
Everybody's somebody's brother, sister.
Get off!
Their plan doesn't make sense. Like, it's like about 8 of them survive the crash. More than 8, I'd say, because Coach gets like pinned somewhere in the plane, so he dies shortly after. They find the pilot, one of the pilots, they find him hurt in his chair next to the dead pilot. And for a second, I was like, oh, cool, the pilot gets to like be in the movie. They never get to be in the movie.
Pilot never gets to make it.
So later on, they're at the fire, and somebody asks like, oh, is the pilot doing okay? And I think one of the girls is just like, he died. And I was like, well, yeah, he died. You left him in the chair, 30 yards over there in the cold in the Himalayan mountain. You guys couldn't bring him over to the fire?
Careful, man. There's only 12 matches left.
I've got news for you. If we're here so long we need to light 12 more fires, we've got bigger problems.
And you don't have many of them for very long, and none of them ever really like distinguish themselves very well. I mean, Raven, I guess, like, there's the main girl and main guy who,
Sarah and Peyton,
characters, and then there's Raven, who's the other guy.
Everyone
else is kind of like,
I'm putting my notes away. Let's see if I can do it. All right, the survivors of the plane crash, not including the pilot or the coach or any of the supposedly wounded. It is Peyton, Sarah, Rice, Raven, Dennis, the guy from the toilet.
That was an adventure.
Okay, Littlebeard, whose name was revealed to be Garcia, who we called Littlebeard because of his ridiculous facial hair. Andrew was the bigger guy.
Yep.
Ashley was the girl in the pink for a little bit before they all put on their matching outfits. That's 8. Is there 9? I feel like there was 8.
You didn't say Kira yet.
Kira,
She's the
Dang
one who had her brother about to get eaten.
Nobody needs to know where it came from. I won't touch him. I promise.
Before we get to the Yeti stuff, I'll say you can't have it both ways, because if you want to have scenes where people seriously debate the ethics of eating the flesh of dead people to survive, You can't undercut that with Dennis quipping about how we're going to start voting people off the island, because it's just like, come on, shut up, Dennis.
Yeah, if you're not going to eat yours, I will.
Shut up.
You should.
I don't even think
Shut up,
it's really
Dennis.
a discussion that they're trying to have, because basically Raven's like, let's eat him, and everyone else is like, nah.
Yeah.
Raven, you're dumb. So maybe it has only been a couple days. I don't know. He's still got chocolate. He's still got a chocolate bar.
He does still have a chocolate bar. He wanted to eat people before that plane crashed.
Yeah.
He wanted to eat them. They send Littlebeard and Andrew off to go search for food, I believe.
Food or help or shelter or whatever.
And they go and they find that cave pretty quickly, and then the Yeti shows up and murders Andrew. Like, he gets him pretty good.
It's mostly off screen again. It's one of those situations where Garcia slips through a hole in a cave, and then Andrew's too big to get through, so we just get like the arm rip kind of deal.
Poor Andrew. Yeah, he goes, and then Littlebeard, Garcia is stuck in the cave for like the next like 30-ish minutes of the movie.
Yeah, he's not very good at climbing, so he
falls.
tries to climb out and he falls, and then he has to climb back out again after using his friend's arm to make a splint for himself. Which I don't know how well that works when an arm is like malleable a bit.
I mean, it's not the whole. It's just this piece of the arm, so it'd be
mostly straight.
If it was like doing this, I'd probably like break it or something to like. You can't be having this. That happens, and then in the A plot over here, what starts happening is the Yeti starts coming and taking the dead bodies that they've lined up outside the plane, and they're taking the dead and they're eating it. So you would think that most of the movie would chew on this idea of use of the dead.
Somehow they don't know who was taken either.
Yeah.
I'm just like, once again, you didn't know the people on the plane? What is this? Like, who...
And again, the movie undercuts what should be tension, because one of the characters is like, hey, I saw something drag away one of the dead bodies. And everyone's just like, shut up, Sarah. You're wrong.
Yeah, somebody's like, that's ridiculous, or that's impossible, or something. And it's like, is it? Somebody earlier said there could be like bears and wolves and stuff out here. It makes sense to me that they would maybe drag a fresh dead body off.
Nothing stole the freaking body.
I saw it.
Then which one is it, Sarah?
I don't know. Whoever was on the end.
Then where are the tracks?
It's been snowing.
This is crazy. There's nothing out there.
Enough already.
If there's even a chance that something took the flesh of the dead people, and now that like they know there's a food source here, why is there not more concern? Why is there not a little bit more concern? There's no concern. They just tell her to shut up, and then we move forward. Eventually, more of the dead are stolen, and finally you get the scene where they decide to eat the people. It's only one scene, and what I remember most about the scene is that they use a broken piece of plane to like cook the meat on.
Yeah.
And I was like, guys, just spear it over the, like, cook it hot dog style. Why are we pan frying food on the side of the plane?
It's like nobody knows what that piece is from. It could have like oil and crap on it. Who knows what's on there?
Some of the other questionable things that are done. Remember
leopards though.
Oh, okay.
Solitary too, so it makes sense that like maybe, you know, if the body was fresh enough, I could see them coming, dragging one off.
Even if it's squirrels, I'm going to be upset if anything's taking the dead bodies. I'm going to listen to Sarah and be like, hey, let's start looking around, guys. I don't need whatever ate that to look at us and be like, those are fresher.
Once we cross up and over those peaks, we'll be out of radio range. Check back in here once a day, even if you don't hear from us.
10-4, roger.
How many days until they send somebody to look for us?
They won't.
The plot moves along. I say there is a C plot that we forgot to mention.
We meet Boris and Natasha over here.
Rescue team.
Russian rescue. Why are they Russian?
We can't attempt a rescue like this without one of the HRA Sherpas. We could search for weeks and not find them.
We don't have weeks. If anybody survived, they'll be dead within days.
I mean, he's not Russian. She's got to be Russian. His name is John Shepard. He's not Russian.
Did her Russian voice just like transfer over? And I thought they were both Russian.
She was so Russian that it made him more Russian just being next to her.
Nice work, Fury. Ah, we've got a fire. That means survivors.
Did we ever figure out what her name was? It's
They said it at one point.
Fury. I don't know if she has another name, but I'm just like, both Fury and John Shepard are characters that I have other people I think about first that are a lot cooler than these two.
Oh, they were not very cool.
Unlucky bastard.
2 unlucky bastards.
How do you know?
2 left feet.
Shep, what is going on here?
I don't know. I got a bad feeling we're gonna find out.
Okay, so where are we at? So yeah, the rescue team's coming. Littlebeard's off doing his own thing. They eat the dead bodies finally. Before that, actually, I forgot. They catch a rabbit. And a scene that I was like, okay, sure. I guess she can throw a spear with laser accuracy.
I love how the rabbit turns into like just a pile of like steel wool or something. It's just like she throws the spear and then all of a sudden it just like hits and the rabbit's just like fur. Also, I have to imagine if you throw a full-size spear at a rabbit, it probably ruined a good amount of the like edible meat there, right? Like you just punctured that thing right through the middle. So like I guess the legs and stuff will be all right, but you probably ruined some other stuff. Probably cut some stuff open that shouldn't be.
It does little to curb the insatiable appetite of Raven. He's our human bad guy, is Raven. He's always pouting. So they eat the dead. Yeah. The very next day, they wake up and Kira has burned the dead bodies. She's just like, this is evil. We're not doing it. I decided for everyone, which I was just like, I would be more upset with her. I don't think anyone was upset with her enough, because I'm like, not only did you make this choice for all of us.
No freaking way.
What is it? She's burning them. What? She's burning the freaking bodies.
But now, like, that was a back pocket option. Like, if I'm up here for 3 days, I'm like, let's not do it right away. But you could have just killed us all. So if I'm on the plane, I'm like, well, when you go, you're getting eaten. You're the replacement meat.
Do you realize what you've done?
Yes. The right thing.
What the hell are you talking about? Look, maybe you don't give a damn about getting out of here alive, but you've got no right to—
Just surviving isn't always enough, Raven.
What?
We're no better than whatever's out there if we continue to eat these bodies. Or worse, let them be dragged off to God knows where.
I think what ends up happening is after that, they are like sleeping in the fuselage, which everybody calls it the fuselage, and I'm like, they'd be saying the plane. Not everyone knows that it's called a fuselage.
They all, like everyone calls it that. And it's just like, I'm sure that somebody here would not know that, or even if they heard someone else say it, they'd still just call it the plane. It's still like most of the plane.
Besides, we can always burn the fuselage at night as a last resort. That they definitely see. Burn the fuselage? The only thing that's keeping us from freezing to death at night?
Look, nobody's gonna burn anything. Least of all the damn fuselage.
What ends up happening is they hear something trying to break inside, and Raven grabs the flare gun, and he ends up shooting Littlebeard in the face.
Yes. Well, you skipped an integral part of Littlebeard's journey.
Oh, when he fell down the hill.
After he finally climbs out of the thing, he then proceeds to trip and fall down a gigantic hill as he tumbles through the snow. It's probably the best part of the movie, so I didn't want to brush past it.
Yeah, I rewound it a few times. then the Yeti shows up, and the Yeti's mad that someone burned all of his snacks because someone in that plane is a jerk. So then he gets so mad that he starts attacking the plane.
Yeah, and he just almost pushes the whole thing off a cliff.
I think he does. He does. It's like in pieces, so they still have one piece over here, but this piece over here.
Yeah, and I'm like, sure, it's like kind of on the edge of a cliff, but I'm still, that was a big plane on the side. And he pushed the whole thing off. I was like, seems weird. And in general, the Yetis in this movie really seem inconsistent. Like, with what they do, the way they do it, why they do it, how they do it, like everything. Like, if they do something once, they probably do something else in the movie to make you question how those things are both part of the way they live.
It was just funny because like early in the they do for the most part do the practical suit, which I liked the suit. The problem is you see the guy running in the suit at one point. He's clearly having a hard time.
Yeah, it's when he falls down the hill, I think. He's chasing him and he's running, and it's like clearly he can't move very well through the snow in that suit. And I'm like, that's weird that the Yeti's bad at moving through the snow.
But then they cut to like the CGI jumping.
Yeah.
And you're just like, how do I believe that the same creature...
It looks like the Force jumps from Star Wars. Like they're leaping far. It's weird because then they never run again. Or if they do, they're a lot faster the next time. So it's weird that they... Oh my gosh, here it is.
Oh, there he goes.
And he was just running as we were talking about it. So you probably saw a good example of it while we were talking.
Guys, look out!
So like it's weird, like the first time that the Yetis are in like combat, they get shot and they drop instantly.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
That's just based on all the other times we've seen, like the Yeti in Abominable takes a full like burst of machine gun fire to the chest, and he's just like, oh, you're gonna shoot me with high caliber rounds?
Yeah, this one they get him with 2 pistol shots and they both go down right away. But then later on, they shoot him like 4 times in the chest with the same gun and it doesn't do much.
Yeah.
So it's like, what is that? And yeah, and I'm like, why was he ever running if he could jump 30 feet? Like, why? I don't understand. They're not consistent. Normally they're like dragging bodies away. So like, are they a scavenger? But then they're like killing people for no reason. And then they're like,
oh yeah, and then they
take Sarah back to their cave. And then we're like, oh, they got Sarah, and then we come back to them and
they're like snuggling her.
Like snuggling her, and it's like,
well, yeah, that's so confusing because like there's nothing else whatsoever to make you think that they would like want companionship with her.
Right, and sure, we've talked about how for some reason that's a thing in a lot of these movies, but this movie, that's literally the only thing in the whole movie that would like suggest that. And we know there are multiple Yetis, so we know that they must like breed within themselves anyway. So, well, like
we hadn't found that out yet. So like the Yeti attacks the plane.
We find it out during that scene, don't we?
After, it's like the next scene.
I thought there was like another Yeti sleeping in that same cave when we saw that scene.
That's the first time we see that there's 2.
Right.
Before that, the one Yeti attacks the plane site, pushes the one over, and then murders 2 members of the group. And that was the first time we got to see on-screen kills, and that was pretty fun. I liked when the Yeti actually started mashing and bashing people. And what made it even better was, so imagine that there's this creature attacking your friends, brutally murders 2 of them, and what do?
Dennis and
Ashley.
Okay, yeah.
Dennis and Ashley, they're gone. and everyone starts chucking snowballs at him. They start throwing full just snowballs.
They do it. This is just the only time they do it either. They have the big confrontation later on with the Yeti, like, 'cause this is the first time, and then the rescue team kind of gets there and starts like trying to get them to the point where they're going to get extracted or whatever, after they like scare the Yeti off by lighting it on fire with a flare gun.
If anything was attacking me and you threw a snowball at it, I'd be like, are you gonna help? What are you doing? What are you doing?
To then like see it not be effective at all,
and do it again,
and to do it again like 3 hours later.
So we get to the third act of this film. I think there's 5 of the kids are left, and the rescue team gets there, and they saw the Yeti push that plane off. John's like looking through the binoculars, and he was like, hey, some stuff's going down.
Our friends, they've got company.
So they get there fully aware, and the kids are like, oh my God, the rescue team's here. Are you gonna help us? And they're like, well, there's just 2 of us. The helicopters can't get here because the plot says they can't.
Despite it looking like a pretty open area that they've been camping in.
And that's when like Peyton wants to go lead a team to save Sarah, and Raven is like, that's a dumb idea, but the script is like, Raven's evil, he's being a jerk.
Yeah, so
and
everyone else, including the rescue team, is like, well, we better help you find your friend. They all go together, which I'm pretty sure is not what a rescue team would do.
What do you think, Shepard?
Our job is to lead these people to safety. They want to go after their friend. I think we should go with them.
What? Screw that, man. I want you to take me to the pickup point.
Okay, sure thing. You wait here for us, and when we get back, we will.
I'm pretty sure they would maybe continue to look for your friend, but they would definitely like send you back.
So they build a trap,
especially if you wanted to go back, because Raven doesn't want to go. And
yeah,
like, no, you're going.
Yeah, or you can stay here alone. And he's just like, I guess I don't want to like be undefended. I guess I'm evil for wanting to live.
I mean, he's kind of a jerk, but
he is a jerk.
He doesn't feel like as much of an unnecessary bad guy because, one, he never is like trying to kill anybody or like turn on anybody and like put his oon life more in danger as a result. And
he does try, and like he pulls Rice aside at one point and he's like, are you gonna help me eat the dead? And he's like, maybe I'll help you turn against the others. I know it's not really what I'm thinking about right now.
I respected the decision not to hike out of here when it was all, let's leave no man behind. But now everyone we would have left behind is already dead. This airplane's gonna be our tomb unless we get out of here.
I mean, he's like not a very, I don't know, you can kind of see where he's coming from because of the idiotic moves that everyone else is making.
Yeah, he's right to criticize.
He's probably making more sense than most of the other ones are. He's just not being nice about it.
No, I guess. Well, anyway, so they build a pitfall trap outside of the cave, and they go in, they rescue Sarah, who's totally fine, and getting some snuggles in the cave. We'll just go past that because there's no way that makes any sense.
Right.
They successfully rescue her, get out of the cave, both the Yetis fall into the trap, it just works, and then a convenient avalanche comes and buries them.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, that worked. That's the most, like, not even Scooby-Doo plans ever worked out that perfectly. Right. Like, it just worked. So then they like go back. Before they don't just leave, they go back to the plane site, take the time to bury some of them, and they make that little like ceremonial grave site with the helmet. I thought it was so funny. They make that and then they leave, and the next scene is one of the Yetis comes out and goes there and just kicks over their little...
Like flips the helmet off and it's just like, no.
Screw your little ceremonial marker. And then like the last 10 minutes, the Yeti just like catches up with them and murders.
It kills John Shepard,
Fury,
kills Raven.
Oh, I loved Raven's death because right before he died, the script was like, he's not evil enough.
Yeah, they're
let's show that he's been hoarding chocolate.
Yeah, it's like he's had a chocolate bar all along and they caught him. He fell back to eat his chocolate bar. And I'm like, he ate bodies before he ate his chocolate bar? Did he find that? Like,
Hey, is that chocolate? Huh? No. Son of a bitch! You like son of a bitch!
He runs up to him and he's like, the Yeti's coming! The Yeti's coming! And they're like,
you had chocolate?
That's chocolate on your lip. They punch him? You've had chocolate!
Chocolate! Chocolate! Chocolate!
The end of the movie is largely the Yeti like jackaloping onto people, kills them until you get the final four, and they get to like a cliffside. And I remember that somehow it ends with Peyton doing a tackle. It's like he pulls a football maneuver out.
After this Yeti pushes half of a plane, maybe 60% of a plane, off of a cliff. It's gotta be tons. He just gets tackled by a football player and falls right over. It's like, I guess he just doesn't know how to keep himself square. I don't know.
Well, they fall over and they're dangling off of the cliff, and it's like this human man, and then below him the Yeti's holding onto his foot, and somehow he can just keep his grasp on that. Like,
yeah, which I'm like, how heavy is the Yeti? I'm just gonna assume he's like a cool like 185 or something. Even that seems like that'd be pretty heavy, just dead weight pulling down on you. But
the gang assembles, starts throwing stuff at him. Somehow they like, again, she uses her spear skills and just throws that spear through the Yeti.
that's not the one that comes back. At the end of the movie, of course, after we think all the Yetis are dead, we've got to get the one that comes out from under the snow.
Which I'll just say, like, where was that Yeti the whole time?
It might have been that same one, because wasn't he near the plane?
That wouldn't make any sense.
If it was the Yeti near the plane, then, like, the plane was down the cliff, right? So maybe, I don't know.
If they're leaving from, if here's the plane and they're leaving the plane, there's no way the way they're leaving goes up here so that the Yeti can then fall down onto the plane. That doesn't make any sense.
Different Yeti. Why was there any Yeti down there then? Maybe the plane didn't get knocked off? I don't remember. I wrote for the very end, unearned romantic happy ending. But people are not cold enough.
People
are not starving enough. They look way too healthy.
But
yeah.
You know, they did it. 4 people make it.
The production wasn't great. It looked like they were doing forced jumps, like I said, when the Yetis were hopping around.
I think
it's never a particularly good looking effect.
It looks all right. It feels like the other movies in the Maneater series, where sometimes they use practical effects, and I like those effects, but they always throw some CGI stuff in there that I'm just shake my head at, and I'm like, you didn't need that.
Ready now! It's too quick! Ready now!
It looks like a TV movie. I mean,
it does. It does. I've never seen any other, coming from someone who hasn't seen any other movies in the Maneater series, which I'm assuming is some or most of you. I have no desire to watch any of the others, and this feels about like
you wouldn't watch
SasqWatch Hunters or Bigfoot.
What about Maneater?
Untold. Like they all. Wait, maybe Bigfoot was the Untold. Either way, they all kind of. This feels like any of the ones from 2000 to 2010, maybe even to 2020 that we've seen so far, mostly feel
like that. Yeah, there's something about it where I mean, it's not a set. They were clearly in the snow.
Yeah.
But it just feels like we're 20 feet away from whatever lodge they're sleeping at.
They weren't somewhere that cold. Because I kept thinking, like, this place should be colder.
Yeah.
Not only did they not look cold enough, but they didn't look like even the way they were dressed. I was like, shouldn't you all have, like, frostbite on your noses by now?
Yeah, it's the little things. We're missing all the little things that make you buy any of this.
Like, if they had just thrown scarves around their faces, I wouldn't have, well, then I wouldn't have been able to see them talk, but I also wouldn't have noticed that they looked fine.
Think things will ever be the same again?
So when they shoot him in the face with the flare gun,
which doesn't kill him.
There's the flare as it's effective. It's not going off. It's certainly not like shooting.
They're supposed to believe that man's not dead and wakes up later. Are you?
Wait, he does?
Yeah, it's Littlebeard. The end of the movie is Littlebeard waking up and being like, "I made it."
I thought the end of the movie was one of the Yetis.
Yeah, the Yeti's arm comes to the snow, and you're like, Littlebeard's probably gonna die still.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, did that flare not work? Because they shot him right in the face, and there's no, like, sparks, there's nothing. But then they shoot a Yeti with the flare later, and he just lights up.
For a second. He lights up, but then the Yeti knows how to do stop, drop, and roll.
Drop, roll, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm alive.
I don't see it. Like, they didn't add anything. In fact, everything they said about Bigfoot, I think, is something that we've seen or heard before. Down
Not the
to
jumping.
scavenger thing.
What about the jumping? Have we seen Bigfoot jump like this before? What would you rate it, though?
2.5 big feet.
Really? 2.5 big feet? That's what I'm giving it too. Yeah. I feel like it's really similar to how I feel about the movie Abominable, the second one that we covered.
Yes, I actually think I like that one more.
I do too,
because it made me laugh more times.
And I liked their Yeti a little bit better. I think this Yeti might look a little bit better.
I think this Yeti looks better than that one, but that Yeti was also one of the better looking costumes we've seen.
That movie had better gore scenes. That movie had some really cool kills. This one has like 2 memorable kills for me that I was like, I liked it when he ripped off John's leg and hit him with it. Like, that's fun, but is it fun enough to justify an hour and a half of your life?
I don't think so. It's definitely not fun enough to justify $100 from your wallet. So I would not recommend buying that one last copy, if it even is the last copy. I would recommend skipping this feature in favor of any other Bigfoot movie we've covered, or maybe not any of them, but any of the other ones from the 2000s. Or any other man-eater movie, maybe not Blood Monkey, I guess. But yeah, maybe don't watch any of those. Maybe just
I like the movie Man-Eater. I think Man-Eater with Gary Busey is worth seeing. It's not the best Killer Tiger movie. That's Burning Bright if you're interested. But it's maybe like the 3rd or 4th best Killer Tiger movie. And that's about as high of praise as I can give to the Man-Eater series.
All right, so what about our Yeti, the titular Yeti?
The snow demon, as it were. First off, I'm not sure that we're dealing with a demon. I don't think that we encountered anything paranormal or supernatural, really, in the film. But the title of the movie is Snow Demon.
Curse of the Snow Demon,
Curse of the Snow Demon, yes.
Well,
Curse of the Snow Demon.
Yeah,
you wouldn't know it from the cover. I promise. You punch this puppy in, you're going to find Yeti Curse of the Snow Demon is indeed the title of this film.
Maybe the curse is what made the plane crash?
I don't know. Honestly, there's just not much to go on there. I'm going to say I don't think that it was a demon.
Yeah, I don't think so either. What we do know about the Yeti, relatively little. Maybe a connection to Gigantopithecus?
Yeah, like Gigantopithecus's name was once again tarnished.
Yeah, once again.
Dragged through the mud.
Somebody who just like pulled that out and they're like, throw that into a line. That'll
do it.
That'll fix it.
All that stuff. That's where he came from.
Yeah. He's not a very good runner, at least not in the snow.
But really good at bounding through the air.
Big on leaps and bounds.
Yeah, you might not guess it looking at the legs. It looks like the Yeti's got some pretty like sturdy tree trunk legs, but when he wants to, he can just go.
Yeah.
Just go.
Like a grasshopper.
Never mind, it didn't look like the aliens from Arrival, the other one, but it moved like the aliens from Arrival.
We've got big footprints again, of course, as you would probably expect. Big feet. Partially scavenger, maybe, because he was taking bodies away that were already dead. I mean, they were somewhat freshly dead, but we really don't know how long they were out there, so...
I think we did see the Yeti at one point bite someone's neck while they were alive, so I'm going to say that the Yeti would feed on both the living and the dead.
I think so.
Maybe shows a preference towards the dead, which is a trait that we share as humans. We tend to like our meat to be dead when we eat it.
Yeah, he will kidnap living people too. We don't really know for what reason, other than to just like use them as like a warming pillow.
Well, you know what I was going to say? We saw that foot there in the cave that we speculated might not have been a real foot. So I think there's evidence on the table here that the Yetis collect knickknacks and have maybe a sense of home decor.
They use like a decoration, the foot?
Yeah, I do think the foot.
There is that part where they find two left feet.
Yeah.
It's like the Yeti likes the right feet, you think? He's got those at home, like flanking a doorway or something?
I would say so, yeah. I think we should note that one of the Yetis is actually killed by bullets this time around.
Not bulletproof. We've had a couple of those, but a lot of them are pretty good at like... dodging bullets or taking bullets.
The other Yeti gets shot and takes those bullets, no problem, but the first one is killed by bullets, so we'll say that they are not bulletproof.
Right. They seem to live in groups again in this one. They seem to, or at least maybe those small groups. Yeah, those two, and they didn't seem to maybe necessarily be mates with each other.
We're not. Who could know a thing like that based on what we saw?
They recognize symbology and are spiteful.
Yes, they are.
As suggested by them flipping the helmet off of the gravesite.
They made me think of Jim Carrey in The Grinch. The first time one of these films has made me think of that movie.
I could see that. They not good at taking a tackle, despite being pretty sturdy, pretty strong legs and everything.
Not coordinated.
Maybe just
not
that
terribly coordinated.
Middle body area is weak. Maybe that's where the bullets need to go. Because other ones in this movie seem to take the bullets a little bit better.
They were stronger than I expected.
Yeah, those are very strong Yetis. Stronger than you might expect. One of them pushed the whole fuselage of the plane and the cockpit, like most of the plane, off of the cliff. And sure, it's on the edge of a cliff, and that might make it a little bit easier, but he still had to push it a little bit.
Do we want to say strongest Yetis we've encountered so far?
Probably. I mean, even with some of the stuff torn out of it or the wings gone, like how heavy does a plane have to be? I mean,
how heavy is a plane? That's a good. I mean, a
plane that big too. I think that's stronger than it should be even. But yeah, I think definitely the strongest one we've seen.
Okay. Is there anything else that we know about this Yeti?
They can jump really high, but they got to be kind of careful because they can't fall too far or they will die, apparently.
I think there's some evidence to support that the Yetis are nocturnal, at least in the first chunk of the movie, but they come out in the day later on, so maybe it's just based on how tired they are?
Yeah, that's a common thing in these movies. No one seems to really care about the sleep cycle of the Yeti.
Yeah. They do sleep, though. We see them sleep.
That's true. But they're in a cave, so we don't know when. Welcome to SasqWatch, where we crunch the numbers. In our film this time, we found ourselves in the Himalayas. where we had 2 Yeti, maybe more, but we definitely had at least 2. Those Yeti killed 8 people, probably more, but we're confirmed for sure at least 8 people. A lot of other people died in a plane crash. We did have 1 human-on-human shooting, but no deaths as a result of that. And the Yetis were in the film for 4 minutes and 24 seconds. Numbers crunched.
Well, hello everyone. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of SasqWatch. Maybe you didn't, but why not try again with our next episode, which also takes place in the Himalayan mountains. We're staying in the snow, which is going to be covering the 1957 Hammer horror film, The Abominable Snowman of the Himalayas.
Yeah. And this one's got an actor that we know.
Yeah.
It's happened more often than I would have expected. But yeah.
Are you excited going into this next one, knowing that like you have a face to grab onto?
Yes. Yes.
A small band of men on a perilous search for the man-beast of Tibet. The abominable snowman of the Himalayas. You've heard of him, haven't you? The world's most shocking monster. No one's ever lived who's seen him. Be on your guard. He's coming to this theater. The abominable snowman dares you.
SasqWatch.
Holding. Brace.
Page, find it the way I found it earlier. We're still holding. We'll cut some of this. We'll send you to watch something else.
We assume Pat will cut it, but who knows? Sometimes he just like.
Maybe all this will be here. Maybe this will be the end of the thing. Maybe I'll get this as a little. His name is Ed.
His name is Ed.
Ed Marinaro.